Hey everyone, it's Greg, Unbreakable Spirits. This is our weekend sports edition where we talk everything Philly sports and sports in general. And first of all, excuse the Tiger sweatshirt there. It means nothing. It's only a shirt. Anyway, let's talk some sports now. The first thing I want to talk about are the Phillies. How about those Phillies? They've won 6 games in a row. They're going for 7 this afternoon against the LA Dodgers. Some may say, oh, well, they're beating up on a lot of bad teams. They beat the Washington Nationals. They took 3 from the Detroit Tigers and at Detroit Tigers. That is true. But you play who you play on your schedule. If they lost to Washington or lost to Detroit, then we would be bitching and moaning about the Phillies or losing the bad teams. So give them credit. They've won those games. They won the first game yesterday against the Dodgers, who are a good team. And another walk-off win. Kyle Schwarber with a home run, his 17th of the year. Ever since they put him back in the leadoff spot, he's hitting, he's producing. What can I say? So Phillies right now are on the roll. The pitching is good. Their hitting is coming around. Of course, it's getting warmer. So, like Charlie Manuel used to say, hitting season is when it gets hot, especially down at the at Citizens Bank Park. The ball seems to carry a lot further during the hot, muggy weather. And so as we progress through June, hopefully the bats will come alive. Aaron Nola pitches this afternoon against the Dodgers. Don't forget, Aaron Nola always pitches better when the weather gets hotter and more muggier. He is from Louisiana, LSU, and he has always pitched better in the blazing summertime. So here in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to get up to maybe 80 degrees out there. So it's not hot and muggy, soupy, but it is going to be a great day for the ball. So we're looking for 7 in a row. I'm going down tomorrow to the game. We can't wait. Right now, the scheduled pitchers are Taijuan Walker for the Phillies. He's been a little inconsistent, but he is pitching a little better. The Dodgers have their ace going. Urias, whatever it is. He's a good pitcher. He's really good. You got to give him credit. Phillies have had trouble with him in the past. It's not a strikeout pitcher per se, but he strikes out a lot of Phillies. The Phillies still do strike out a little bit too much. So if Urias is on its game, it could be a high strikeout total for the Phillies tomorrow. But as I said, since the Phillies have rearranged the batting order a little bit, Schwarber leadoff, Castellanos, who's had a great year, hitting second, Harper third. That seems to work. It's gelling. So let's see what happens. Can't wait to get back to the ballpark. Tomorrow, it's a flurry of games for me. Now, next week, Phillies will be playing the Braves when they come back from their road trip. I can't wait to be at that game. It's an afternoon game. And then we'll be down against the Mets when the Mets come back in the town. So hopefully good games for yours truly to be down at the ballpark. One of my favorite places on earth to be down at the ballpark. So after tomorrow, after the Phillies play the Dodgers, we go on the road for a week. Phillies play 4 games in Arizona. They always have trouble with the Diamondbacks, especially in Arizona. Arizona has a good team. They're actually in first place in National League West. They're a young team and they're really coming around. I like Arizona. They may not win the division out there, but I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. So that's not going to be easy. If the Phillies could split out in Arizona, that would be fine. And then they play the A's, and the A's are just awful. Although, give the A's credit. The A's beat Pittsburgh 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh earlier this week, and yesterday they won in Milwaukee. So the A's are playing a little bit better, but the Phillies should go into Oakland next weekend, and if not sweep, but take 2 out of 3 from the A's. Then they come back home and play the Braves and the Mets. So the schedule is starting to heat up now. You know, down the road, we've got the Padres coming up. Phillies go to play the Rays in Tampa Bay for 3 games early in July. And then they play the Marlins. The Marlins are not a bad little team. They're in second place in National League East. They're not bad. The young pitching has come around. They have just enough hitting. I mean, they're not a bad little team. And history tells you the Phillies have always had problems playing the Marlins, especially down in Miami. So we'll see what happens before the All-Star break. Speaking of the All-Star break, it's going to be interesting because as before this winning streak started for the Phillies, a lot of people were down on the club, thinking we may have to trade some people, get some prospects around the trade deadline, start to build for the future. Now, with this winning streak, I think people are sort of on hold to see what's going to happen in another couple of weeks as the Phillies play these more competitive, better teams. It's an important time because, let's say Aaron Nola, they still haven't signed him to an extension. He could walk away and be a free agent at the end of the year. If the Phillies aren't going to sign him, why not trade him to a club that is looking for pitching to get them over the hump and into the playoffs and get some prospects back? Then if the Phillies are interested in Aaron Nola long term, they can sign him after the season ends. That's only if the club doesn't think they're going to get in the playoffs this year. I absolutely think they will as a command. So my feeling is they're going to hang on to Aaron Nola right till the end of July. Let's see what happens. There's some other people that players that the Phillies could conceivably trade. I mean, Kyle Schwarber is having another good power year. He's not hitting as far as batting average is concerned, which is typical Kyle Schwarber, but he is hitting home runs and he's getting hotter as the weather heats up. So he's one that could conceivably be dealt at the trade deadline and get some prospects back. This all hinges on the next couple of weeks. Keep that in mind. What happens between now and the end of June and early July is going to be really an important time frame, not only for the Phillies in 2023, but for the Phillies in the future. The reason is because the farm system still isn't great. And wouldn't it be a bad thing to replenish the farm system with some good, viable prospects? And if the Phillies are going to do that, that's not Dave Dombrowski's, the GM, Dave Dombrowski's MO. He's here to win now. He would be here to actually be a buyer, not a trader, not a seller at the trade deadline. But let's say the Phillies, let's say that they start losing again, and toward mid-July, it looks like you're not going to contend for the playoffs. Then you want to trade and get their prospects, but they got to get the best prospect. The problem with the Phillies in the past is they traded away Cole Hamels in 2015, and they didn't get they traded him to the Texas Rangers. Unfortunately, Ruben Amaragino was the general manager. He did not get the Rangers' best prospects coming back. And that was the problem with that deal. They got 4 people back from the Rangers, and they were so-so prospects. And that's how they turned out to be so-so. If you're going to trade a guy like Paul Hamels, who was a hot commodity back in 2015. He had just pitched a no-hitter against the Cubs. He was the leading pitcher on the trade block in major leagues. If you're going to trade a guy like that to a team that wants to be a contender, you have got to get your best prospects back. If you're not going to do that, don't trade the guy, right? Amaro made the mistake. He got desperate. He traded him to the Rangers, and he got really nothing back in return. So if Dombrowski is going to do that, he better be sure to get really good players. But let's see what happens. Hopefully that won't come to be. The Phillies will continue to play really good ball and will be in this pennant race all the way through. Now, the advantage for the Phillies is they made the playoffs last year. They know what it takes. They have the experience. They know what it takes not only to get into the playoffs, they know what it takes to win in the playoffs. So in that vein, they do have an advantage over some of the other teams. Let's look at some of the other teams in baseball, okay? Again, starting in the East, how about those Mets? Really tanking that. They have lost, 7 in a row now, as the Braves continue to win, as the Phillies win, even the Marlins are winning. The Mets are tanking. Pete Alonso is on the DL now, hurt his wrist. More Mets, right? What could I say? The Mets got in trouble by these free agents that they got, like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, not bad, but they're past their prime. They are not, they're shells of themselves, really, if you want to be honest. They gave these guys big money. They were lucky that they let Jacob deGrom go. Texas was foolish enough to sign him, and now he needs Tommy John surgery and probably won't pitch again for another 2 years. So the Mets have had they have a lot of money with their new owner, Steve Cohen. They're just not spending it wisely. And as we see, it's reflected in the standings. So is anybody surprised? I'm not. Maybe the Mets fans. National League Central is just a mishmash. Pittsburgh is coming back down to reality, but they are hanging in there. It's such a bad, mediocre division that even a team like the Pirates are still in the race. Cincinnati has been the surprise team. They brought up a lot of the young prospects, including the kid De La Cruz, who's causing a lot of excitement throughout baseball. And that's good. That's good to see. It's good to see Cincinnati is on the way back. I wouldn't expect them to contend for the division this year, but give it another year or two. The prospects that they do have look good. So it's good to see Cincinnati is on the way back. I don't know who's going to take the Central. You would think St. Louis, but St. Louis is so up and down this year. We're trying to climb out of the hole. We're not in the basement anymore, but Milwaukee is up and down. Like I said, last night they lost to Portland at home. My pick actually to win the Central Division are the Cubs. The Cubs are below 500, but I think they have a good team. I just think the Cubs, I just have this funny feeling that the Cubs are going to get it together. And they're going to make a run for the division. I think St. Louis still will. They have too many good players like Goldschmidt and Arenado to not make a run for the division. But I just think the Cubbies, something tells me that they're going to make a run and they're going to win that division. NL West, we know the Dodgers are a good team. They're not a great team, not like they used to be. But they still have, Mookie Betts at the top of the lineup, Freddie Freeman. They're still a dangerous team. As I said, I like Arizona out west. The big disappointment, the big surprise are the Padres. Padres have all these stars, Machado, Soto, and what are they doing? They're languishing even behind the Giants. And Gabe Kapler has the Giants playing pretty decent ball out west, considering their competition. The Giants are surprising that they are only 4 or 5 games off the lead out in the West. The Padres are the big disappointment. American League, really quick. We have the East. The Rays are still the cream of the crop there. They got off to a terrific start, and they are still great. They played great at home. Big weekend series against Texas. They beat Texas last night. The Rays, I think, have enough that they're just going to go wire to wire and they're going to win that division. The Yankees just don't show me enough. The Orioles are a good upcoming team, but I think you're still a year away. I think the Orioles have to get off to a better start. Yeah, in the season, maybe next year to contend. I see the Orioles, they may have a chance to get a wild card spot, don't get me wrong. I just don't think they're going to win the East. And Toronto has so much talent. When you talk about Guerrero, Bichette, they have so much talent on that team. But I don't know, too inconsistent as far as I'm concerned. But Toronto is a team to watch. I would watch Toronto more than I would the Yankees. Talk about mediocrity. American League Central is a, you got teams, yeah, like a Minnesota who are hovering around the 500 mark and in first place. Terrible. Minnesota, Cleveland has been a disappointment. I mean, you've got a team like the Detroit Tigers who just got awful. We saw that through Philadelphia's awful team. And yet they aren't far off the pace in American League Central. The Royals are still a bad team. The White Sox are going to be good. We're going to take that division. I say Minnesota, but we'll see. And out west, the American League, the Rangers have a really good team. They're hitting very well. They're getting enough pitching, even though they lost DeGrom. So I'd like Texas to hang in there. The Astros are the Astros. Will be a good club. Between injuries, and I think they won the whole thing last year. They might not be as hungry this year. I don't think the Astros are going to win the division. They'll probably make the playoffs as a wild card team, but will they get back to the World Series? I don't think so. The Angels have been a disappointment. I thought they'd be doing a lot better than they are with Ohtani and Trout. Well, both are having fine seasons. The Angels just don't have enough. The other disappointment are the Mariners. I really thought the Mariners would step up this year and have a really good year. After getting into the playoffs last year, after almost beating Houston, the eventual World Series champion, I thought the Mariners were going to step it up and have a really good season and contend for American League West, but it hasn't happened. And the A's are the A's. I mean, the story there is, will they move to Las Vegas? If not, where are they going to go? Are they going to stay in Oakland? That still is to be determined. There's a lot of things that have to happen either way for the A's to move to Vegas or not move to Vegas. Time will tell. So that's baseball. Really quick, NBA Finals. I was wrong. I thought the Miami Heat would give the Nuggets more of a series. It's not happening. The Nuggets won both games in Miami. They hold a 3-1 lead in the finals. They go back to Denver on Monday night, and I wouldn't be surprised if they wrap it up on their home court. They're just too good. Jokic is too good. He's too big. The Nuggets overall are too big. They're killing the Heat on the boards. We're out rebounding them crazy. They shoot well enough. Miami just doesn't have enough players. I mean, they have a couple players who are down with injury. They have a lot of heart. They fought really hard this playoff season. Look what they did against the Bucks and the Celtics and the Knicks. But it seems like the Heat have run out of gas. those role players along with Jimmy Butler, who isn't playing like he did at the beginning of the playoffs, but he's still a solid player. The role players for Miami, like Vincent, like Struess, like Martin, just aren't stepping up this series. It seems like they've run out of gas too. And the Heat have a brilliant coach. I think the Heat, if they keep all their players together, will contend again next year. They have to add to that group. Adamo is a good player in the middle, but he is no match for Jokic. I mean, Jokic is just eating him up inside. Jokic is just doing whatever he wants to do as far as if he wants to score 40 points, he will. If he wants to get 20 rebounds, he will. If he wants to pass the ball and get 10 assists again, he will. He can do whatever he wants to do. And that's the difference in this playoff series. I'm not surprised that the Nuggets are will be the champions. I picked the Nuggets to come out of the West. So in that way, I wasn't wrong. I just thought the Heat would give them a more competitive series. I thought it might go down 6 games, even 7 games. But from the looks of it now, the Nuggets will probably close it out in 5. I don't think they're going to want to go back to Miami next week. I think the Nuggets will take care of business Monday night at home, and the Denver Nuggets will be the NBA champion. Kudos to them. This is their first time ever to win an NBA championship. So kudos to Denver. As far as our 76ers are concerned, I guess the big question is, as the finals end and free agency starts up, what's going to happen with James Harden? Is he going to accept the Sixers going to offer him a long-term contract? I hope not. Would he accept a 1-year deal? Maybe, but I hope not either. I think it's time to move on from James Harden. I think it's time for the Sixers to get faster and younger. I think it's time that the Sixers build around Tyrese Maxey, who's an exciting, good young player, but he's going to need help. To me, I think they have to keep Joel Embiid. He's still the reigning MVP. I guess if you're going to ever trade Embiid, now is the time to do it while you can get something for him. I mean, he's not getting any younger. He's still prone to injury. And now's the time to deal with if you're going to do that. Personally, considering what you can get back for him, how much influence he has as far as getting people into the building, keeping you competitive, I think he should keep Embiid. And run the offense. I've been saying this for a long time. Run the offense through Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. They have to play quicker. When the Sixers get out on the floor and run the ball, they get easier baskets. James Harden slows everything down. Dribble, too much one-on-one. He's too slow. Yes, he led the league in assists this year. But the Sixers, to me, could be so much better. Now that they have a new coach, Nick Nurse, I would think he is going to, I think the players need a fresh voice, a new perspective. They need a winner. The Sixers organization needs a winner. There's too much losing mentality in that organization. They need a winner, and they've got a winner in Nick Nurse. They need to create a winning mentality, not only with that team, but in that organization. So, to me, I would build around Maxey and Embiid and add around it. They need better wing players. I mean, the NBA now is a league of 3-point shooters and wing players. And the wing players for the 76ers just aren't good enough. Tobias Harris is just an average player. If the Sixers can't trade Tobias Harris this summer, next summer, he becomes a free agent, let him go. if you don't trade them. The Sixers definitely need to upgrade when it comes to their forward positions. They need a ball handler. They need a point guard. Maxey can play off guard as the shooting guard, but they need a guy who handles the ball. Now, Chris Paul, Phoenix Suns, is a free agent. Suns released him. Should the Sixers take a run at him? We know Chris Paul isn't what he used to be. He's a shell of himself. But is he better than James Harden? Chris Paul at least can handle the ball. He could dole out the assists just like Harden can. And Chris Paul is a decent shooter. If the Sixers have no other plans, I wouldn't mind taking a run at Chris Paul, maybe for 1 year contract, right? At least he is a ball handler. He is breaking down more though. He's getting injured, especially at the end of the year in playoffs. But I think if you use Chris Paul the right way, you could get him through a season and he could be productive for you. I just don't want James Harden. I'm sorry. We saw the best of what James Harden could do. It just soured me the way James Harden laid down in Game 6 and Game 7 in the playoffs against the Celtics. Now, you could say the same thing about Joel Embiid. He played like a dog, too. Joel Embiid is still the MVP, okay? In my mind, Jokic is really the MVP, but Embiid did get the award this year, so let's give it to him. I think you have to keep Embiid. I think you let Harden go, and that'll be determined in the next couple weeks. We'll see what happens. Sixers need to build up their bench. They need to add to their starting five. I still think they could be a very competitive team. They've got to be wise in what they do, considering the cap space, considering the fact they don't have many first-round draft picks anymore. The GM traded them away. They may be limited in what they can do this summer, but they have to be smart about what they do as far as trying to retool this team and yet stay competitive. So we'll see. Not much in football. All the teams are sort of it's that in between time, between mini camps and between training camp, which starts in earnest in about a little over a month in July. Then we'll talk more football. The Flyers have been making news. Keith Jones, the new president, Danny Briere, the new GM, traded away Ivan Provorov, and maybe he'll bloom with the LA Kings. The Flyers hit rock bottom last year, and they needed to make changes, not only in their front office, but with their team. And so what I liked about the hiring of Keith Jones as the team president is not only is he a smart guy and he knows hockey, he knows the players around the league, he knows the Flyers players, but he gives the Flyers a face to the organization. And let's give him a chance. I think he's going to do good. I think he's going to accumulate draft picks, young players, prospects. That's exactly what the Flyers need. They don't need these old guys. They don't need these big contracts. They need stuff to start from the bottom up. There's talk that they're working on a deal for Carter Hart. Carter Hart is an excellent goalie. He's still young, but you can imagine the whole the Flyers would get back in the right deal for Carter Hart. The Flyers always seem to have good goaltenders, maybe not in the Carter Hart caliber. Carter Hart has been a really great goalie, but they need so much. They need so much on this team that you really can't have the luxury of having a big-time goalie and the rest of your club, especially in your defense, sucks. There will be a time when they're going to need a stud goaltender. Right now, I think it's important for the Flyers to build. They need to accumulate first and second round draft picks, young prospects, And I think that's what Jones and Bear are going to do. I think you got to give the Flyers a few years, but I think they're on the right track. Um, so I like what they're doing. I think this summer is going to be a very interesting summer for the Flyers. And I think whatever they do this summer or next summer between the drafts, that's the foundation of the future for the Philadelphia Flyers. It will be an interesting summer. So that's it in sports. I'm loving the NBA and the finals. I'm going to miss the NBA until the fall. And think about it. Maybe as of next week, after the hockey playoffs, and Florida's still hanging in there. We'll see what they do tonight in Florida against the Vegas Knights. It's a must-win situation for the Panthers to tie the series 2-2 before they go back to Vegas. But so after next week, one way or another, and that's it. It's baseball for the rest of the summer until football training camp starts up again. It's not that far away. So we'll talk next week more about sports. I'll give you my perspective on being down at the game tomorrow against those Mighty Dodgers, and we'll see you then. See you then.